This FedGov Today program is sponsored by Snowflake and Carasoft. Welcome back. Linnea Jones mentioned the proprietary and off-the-shelf AI tools the CIA is using. Many other agencies say they're looking for opportunities to adopt off-the-shelf technologies too. Steve Coles is president for Federal at Snowflake. Steve, welcome. It's great to talk to you again. What do you think is driving that hunger, that desire for commercial technologies at agencies today?
Well, thank you for having me, Francis. Good to be with you. I really think that we're at an inflection point. Agencies can't afford to stand up systems over years, 2 to 3 years, and they can't afford to start from the beginning. And I really think there is, when you look at modern SaaS technology, there's a capability to be able to stand that up immediately and offer them updates over the air, i.e., a chat GPT type model, a 4.1 type model, a Claude model, a Meta model, and to be able to get updates like that without going through a contracting process would be like the F-35 program getting an AI update without going through all the contracting theater, right? I mean, it's not possible without a modern SaaS type platform.
What have the agencies done well to get them to that phase, and how can they leverage that inflection point that you just described?
I think what they've done well is begin to bring in commercial technologies or SaaS technologies that are available in the commercial marketplace today that, say the commercial companies have already vetted that they're using widely, and they're saying, let's go and adopt that rather than building it ourselves. And if they build it themselves, it takes years versus getting it available in months or fewer. What
are some of the roadblocks that you've seen agencies run up against? How have you seen them move those roadblocks and able to make in order to make progress?
Well, I think one of the big roadblocks is the ATO process, the authority to operate process. And I don't know, it usually takes months or years for someone to get through an authority to operate process. But if I was to ask you, Francis, do you think the Chinese or the Russians are using the ATO process or waiting for the ATO process to ultimately put their systems online?
I'm confident that they're not. I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure no.
I agree with you. So I think that, having a modern SaaS platform that's ATO'd one time as opposed to ATOing systems thousands of times allows you to ATO it and then bring innovation in at will.
How much of this is a culture change? How much of it is an organization saying we're not going to do things the way that we always have, commission some piece of software that's going to take 1,000 years and who knows how much money to get in? And how well do you think the agencies have done at getting past that?
I think it's a big culture shift, right? Because forever they have built their own systems with their own system integrators, with their people that they have their own relationships with. And I think that is a massive culture shift to adopt technologies that are also readily available commercially. But there's advantages to that. For example, we've seen play out in the media, very large defense contractors owning the data for the DoD. I mean, the mission shouldn't have to come to a contractor to get access to their own information. They need access to that. In modern SaaS type systems, full stop, the data is available to them. They own the data. There's never a question about that. So I think there's a bridge there for them to more easily want to come in that direction.
I want to say it was 2014 or 15 that a civilian agency that I won't name, you can go look it up if you want to, found that they were in that exact spot. And that was the first example of an agency having to go buy its own data from a vendor under the terms of a contract that the agency had signed and gone along with the terms of. What's the awareness? What is the contracting processes, all of that have changed, and what do you think might still need to have to change in order for agencies to be confident that they own the data that they're creating and they're using through a vendor's platform?
Agreed. I think shifting to a modern SaaS platform is the route to go from a data perspective because those terms are already set. The mission data is owned by the mission owner. We're not trying to have a business model that would actually say, we're going to own your data and you have to come to us to pay for it. I think that's the old way of doing business. I think people need to think differently about how they're doing business if they're going to contract that way.
So is this just a new way of doing business, a new way of thinking, or are there new processes, new governance, new models that are required here in your view?
I don't think there's new models. I think that the commercial model they have worn out all the kinks from a SaaS perspective and a software as a service, and they know they want to own their own data. They're not going to stand up for a contractor trying to actually own their data. So I think the models commercially have made them ready to be available to come into the government. So I think that's been the good news is they're ready to be adopted.
How much of this is dependent on the technology shops then? How much of it's dependent on the procurement shops, financial management shops, and so on?
I think that it's really the technology shops to decide what technology they want. And I think from an innovation perspective, these modern SaaS platforms are able to bring in the most innovative technology, like CIA was talking about, but bring in at will without a contracting modification, without the contracting theater, without going through an RFI or an RFP or all the extended, the extended time period of going through a contracting process.
Steve, it's great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining me.
Great to be here. Thank you. It's a pleasure, Francis.